Hark! Thou pierceth my frail heart, fairest Bianca!
You do not understand, my valiant knight-errant. I am too gay for this world. I wish to perish forevermore and free myself from this languid life I am bound to.
Prithee, to speak of unaliving in such day and age! You are a postulant.
I pray thee, Aita, slice me down, right in the neck, and pull my hair when you do it.
Hey, yo, that's not in the script. That's not in the script.
1348 Ex Voto is an Italian game that committed the cardinal sin of pride and was crucified on the internet for all to see. For Eve to bite the apple must bite back. This is a medieval knight game by Italian developer Sedlio. It's about a gay knight named Aita that poses as a man, going on an odyssey to save her lover Bianca.
Like The Sopranos.
With the goal of replicating real Italian swordplay and telling a modern knight's tale. And I'm not going to mince words with you, Ex Voto is trash.
The game ended up in the news for a brief moment.
Sedlio's social media manager saw this game called A Knight's Path, say it was going to have hot girls with big boobs and not care about the modern audience. Then they started the weirdest beef they could, though no one told them that people online like to gesture more than they like to do. So the audience is me, I guess. A doer, or trash panda connoisseur.
Also, just to air out the room real quick, I don't consider myself anti-woke. I think it's perfectly fine if you put lesbians in there. I don't think it's historically accurate. There were no knighted lesbians.
But that's why Ayata's lying to everybody and pretending to be a man. And also,
I think they're the best part of the goddamn game. Their acting is really good. And without them, you'd have a boring game that doesn't even have its weird little edge to it.
The story claims to take a lot of inspiration from Arthurian tales of action and chivalry, to which we have Ayata. As in, I baked you a cookie, but then I ate it. A daughter of 2 dead lords who have taught her how to fight, and she fancies herself a knight. Honestly, I see nothing wrong with that. She's very generic, but in a way you could spring off in many different directions. She's earnest, gullible, but devoted and headstrong. Someone who doesn't give up and represents all of the positive traits we associate with knights. Then there's the protagonist, Bianca, a postulant, think intern for a religious order, who has some form of romance with Ayata. It's not outright stated, we just know they're close. Those traits are all we are going to know about Bianca for a while, though we are going to learn one last thing. Bianca serves as the tutorial fight, helping you get to know the gameplay of Ex Voto.
Let's see you parry it.
What the fuck is that? Run! The Titans! They breached the walls! Bianca heads to the city. Ayata waits.
I'm an angel with a shotgun, fighting till the war's won. I don't care if heaven... What's that smell?
The gameplay of Ex Voto is like God of War. If you took out most of the interactivity, and you didn't have a companion that told you how everything works, and really it's just the half-tank controls, what you mainly do is progress down a line, so it's like God of War with the structure of Final Fantasy XIII.
Think of it like this, the exact time we're about to spend on the sponsored segment was an individual step taken in this forest. This video is sponsored by Kumitantei, Old School Slaughter. Kumitantei is a murder mystery visual novel that invokes classics like Danganronpa, Persona 4, and Umineko. There are 16 students, all of them have one insane talent, and they're gonna kill each other. For you, if a murder happens, they all need to gather up and figure out who did it. If not, the killer walks free and they all die too. Featuring a crew of absolute freaks and weirdos, like Himari, the absolute barista. Hey, that's not so offensive. Just don't worry about Kokoro. Lord knows he isn't getting any of his meds down here. Day after day, you can talk with a colorful cast of characters, with an argumentative game mode that plays out in a card battler. Day after day, you get to talk with the colorful cast of characters. Bonding with them gives you new cards to add to your deck that helps in the myriad of debates you'll get into, alongside the menagerie of other mini-games, a lot of which are inspired by classic retro video games. Then you get to investigate their murders, gathering evidence for trials that will decide who lives and who dies. If this triggers something in you like it did in me, you probably should check it out. Kumitantei is episodic and its first episode drops on April 23rd, 2026. I've got a link to the Steam page in the description of this video. I played it to completion and I had an absolute blast. So once again, thank you to Kumitantei for sponsoring this video.
As Ayata's village burns, you can collect food or paper. Ayata has a set of health and food. Eat food equal get health back. Paper, on the other hand, lets you level up your stats, helping you with the myriad of duels you will fight as the queue in front of you gets pretty damn long. Ayata's village has been set upon by mercenaries. Combat in X-Photo is outlandishly simple. Ayata has two stances, a single-handed one and a two-handed one. The difference being that the one-handed one allows her to dodge, and the two-handed one always has up a block that protects you from frontal attacks, while the dodge perfectly negates the attack and lets you hit back. The enemies have a guard meter as well. When you attack them, their guard goes down. When broken, you can kill them with a 3-hit combo, which means the guard meter is a health bar with an extra step. The difference between the two stances is so negligible. Ayata only has 2 attacks in each form, and they function the exact same on either side. A swing combo if you tap the button. If you hold the button, you do a heavy strike that leaves you open in the wind. At this point, that's it. All there is. It's mind-numbing, however, there is a skill tree. 4 independent branches, 2 of which are only available at the start of the game. So this means that the combat is bad now, but it will get better as I collect more paper. Some stuff never changes. The more pressing issue is how the action flows. Every fight will involve you dueling one enemy while his friends don't do anything. These are people that will happily raise an entire village and even go into the church to kill people. But by God, they wait their turn. When you fight a group, the others will just sit back and show off their 1348 cuck chair techniques. Look, that guy's hitting the Flagellants! It's conveyor belt sushi combat. You kill a man, then the next one walks in front of you and you kill him the exact same way. If you turn your back, they'll realize they didn't have a natural way to introduce more enemies, so they'll just warp them in, and they'll start watching too. I can handle simple combat or mechanics if they're framed in a way that makes them feel like more. You don't get that here. Ayata often stumbles around fighting total strangers. Nor is there any technical prowess on display. You could get into the skill groove. The HUD down here tells you when to hit the button for a perfect attack, increasing your damage and your attack speed. Really, it is just this. X-Photo can join the halls of games that gave me a goddamn migraine. I should specify, I didn't cut out the music. This happened in both my time in the demo and in the game proper, so it's either a reoccurring bug or a serious choice. Ayata does not find Bianca, so she makes a vow to bring her back from the clutches of those brigands.
I shall save you. This, I vow.
This is the entire bone of the story, and has scoliosis. Every step, every man killed, every box pushed, we should feel why Ayata is doing this. Her ideas of knighthood, her love for Bianca, her lust for justice. It's just that we don't really know anything about these two. I don't even know what they see in each other. Did Bianca see Ayata strangle a man and decide to go against every social norm? Or did the bowl cut just really get her gushing? The violence in the village is certainly something, though the first time I saw it, it was on fire. It could have always been like that for all I know. Oh my God, $2,000 a month. I've seen people say they're pretty sick of girl bosses. That is not Ayata. She would have to have any prerogative to begin with. In fact, if a chud were to actually play the games they complain about, I doubt they'd truly find that much to get upset with, because Ayata presents as a man and everyone treats her as one. Personally, I like that approach. It lets her slot into the world around her more easily, while still keeping that little woke edge. The enemies treat her like a little schoolboy with a sword that doesn't know what he's doing, instead of throwing out misogynistic quotes for her to defeat with 2012 feminist quips. I like this way. Ayata sort of just is the proof. You know, show don't tell. You could break X-Photo into 3 acts. One where Ayata fights brigands, one where she fights zealots, then a third where she fights armed mercenaries, without a lot of through line that links it together. From what I could tell, Ayata just walks in a straight line until the next plot point happens. She went from the burning, crippled town, and suddenly you're just in a field miles away. It gives the feeling of a very empty story, but in that, it does unlock something else. X-Photo is much better when it's not in motion. The fields, the rivers, the sound design, it's well done, it's tranquil, until you get lost. X-Photo is perfectly fine with letting you get lost. Exploration is stimulating in the same way that fluorescent lights humming above your cubicle is stimulating. There's no quest markers, no compass, just the path forwards. You gotta play like the pioneers, unless you guys want the alternative. Well, Ayata wonders for the 100th time where everyone is.
Why leave a horse behind? Did the pestilence drive them away?
Ayata meets a local lord that has his eyes set on the same brigands that attacked Ayata's village. He's not doing a great job since they're down the block from his house. We see the lord surrounded by grime, trash, and no servants. He even, seems eager to consign Ayata under his reign, to use her like a pointed weapon, or more like a ballpoint pen.
And I am in want of a retainer. Why, I shall put you to work tomorrow, manning my castle walls.
I got kind of excited looking at the Despot's kingdom, because I was ready for the king to reveal that the mess is because the real lord is dead, and the Brigands came in, and now Ayata's in the belly of the beast. Instead he goes,
"Ah, my fairest knight, for the privilege of coming all the way here." So you want to go down West 24th until you see the post office. Keep your eyes on the left. If you hit Madison, you've gone too far.
By now the areas have opened up a bit. X-Photo has quite a lot of collectibles. There's a handful of trinkets that provide passive benefits, like Ayata eating all of her food when she runs out of HP. Bianca left behind an X-Photo necklace, and Ayata can collect the saints to attach to it, with the promise that she will return it to her one day. Then you have your sword, which can be customized from pommel to blade, offering little buffs to your stances and passives, like a one-handed breaks guards faster. The thing is, though, X-Photo doesn't want to tell you what the golden path is. Half the time I was walking down a wooded trail wondering to myself, this is either going to be a point of no return or a keychain.
It'll present you with a fork in the road, and you have to choose, not knowing where either goes. And in a weird half-compliment, I'm surprised how detailed these non-essential areas are, to the point where I was often convinced I had taken the route to progress, only to find out it was not. My knowledge of Italian culture is limited to The Sopranos, but it is cool to walk through a full Italian monastery. I genuinely think it's cool. You could tell it's modeled after real Italian principles, as you look at all the decorations and you just know it was crafted with love. Though when it splits into a massive cave, I start doing double takes. Anyway, this is not the way forwards. You actually need to walk right past this monastery.
The game prides itself on being historically accurate in its sword fighting, and to their credit, it looks believable. In the two-handed stance, I couldn't personally find any references of one-handed sword fighting that didn't involve a shield. One-handed sword combat is done when the other hand is used to help you balance yourself. It's part of the reason fencers do that. Ayata is using a longsword though, always followed up by these extremely high commitment moves. This posture in the one-handed combo basically screams fucking kill me now. Ayata then meets the head of the Brigands. He is some guy. He is not the one that took Bianca. In fact, he explains that the reason the Lord from before had an empty castle was because he was an asshole who hoarded all of the resources, forcing the average folk to abandon him and turn to banditry to stay alive. X-Photo ends each arc with a boss.
This guy, for example, has an axe that he swings at you. This is all he is capable of, except for his ability to remove corporeality to dodge my attacks. Though fighting him is like fighting any of the men in the path before me, with an awkward QTE in the middle.
He speaks deep into Ayata's soul. Please, leave us be. You are a pointed weapon that was forced upon the innocent. We will stop being bandits. We will find normal work. Ayata looks behind her. I didn't think that was an option anymore. She then chooses to walk 300 more miles until something happens again. Ayata finds a religious man murdering people in the park. He says that he has seen Bianca, that she is staying with him at his monastery, yet his evil, pious lips flap in a way that makes Ayata's hair stand on end. If you don't know, there was a little drama in Italy around 1348, the pestilence. This preacher is Nessuno, whom Ayata refers to as a Flagellante. Flagellantes were these perverse religious groups that turned their faith into violence, inflicting mass murdering sprees as penance to God, stuff like crucifixions, whipping till the skin falls off, even burnings and public executions.
Historically speaking, this is accurate. Flagellantes in the Black Plague had burned some real towns to the ground. Normally, a flagellant hurts themselves and only themselves, but they did like to get a little handsy every now and then. And to the game's credit, it's really cool to be able to learn about history like this. But make a student write a paper on it and you'll find out another kind of accuracy.
The religious enemies introduce a new mechanic, unblockable attacks. They must be dodged. You'd think for a game that loudly tweeted it was for people who don't play video games, it'd be easier to dodge. You need to dodge at the very end to make it work. If you try to swap from two-handed to one-handed, Ayata takes too long to make that stupid-ass pose and you end up getting hit. Meaning if you're in the two-handed stance and you see a glow, it's already too late to avoid the attack. Enemy types are based on the weapon, so if they carry a pitchfork or a whip, just do the one-handed. I've died a handful of times in X-Photo, always portrayed as Ayata falling on her back like a turtle. There's this puzzle I love. You need to get a box in order to climb up these stairs. However, it's down the cliff, and the only other way up is through this crank. But the switch is at the top of the cliff. The solution is to lower the crank onto the box and just know the laws of reality will break, instantly putting the box on top of the platform, allowing you to pull it back and climb the stairs. Climbing to this monastery is a real ordeal. I can give X-Photo this, it feels like you're in real Italian historical locations. I sorta just trust them on that. They can't afford a lot of these. To get the most mileage out of each area, when you step foot in the monastery, they set like 20 guys on you. In single file, of course.
Ayata finds Bianca all tied up in basically the first room she sets foot inside of. Bianca says, "You can't save me. I can convince Nasuno of something. We can save all these people first. Go away. And come to this spot tomorrow night before they notice you." And Ayata doesn't say, "Who is going to notice me?" Instead, Ayata just turns around and walks away the same way she came. Jump cut to the city at sunset to start the exact same thing again. And I realized 90% of this game is just Ayato walking around wondering where everyone is.
What was that? Is anyone there?
At this point, the poor pathfinding is really starting to get to me, especially when one misplaced input sends you to a black screen and you have to do the same collecting all over again because they don't save that for you. During this city trip, I found a new trinket. It allowed heavy attacks performed during guard breaks to instantly kill. Since the enemies are patient about things, I was free to wind up the heavy blow while the opponent reeled from the guard break. It's nice, it took the combat from to just Ayata finds the civilians down inside a sewer grate.
I'm here for Bianca, to free you all.
One of our captors had the keys.
I shall look. Where is this amphitheater?
You can see it from here, on the plains below.
Please, no. I shall not fail you.
Hey, ma'am? Where you going? Are you here? Suddenly, I'm in the ruins of you guys made too many fucking areas, didn't you? You fucked up and now I have to get lost in this bathhouse. I'll just practice my sword swings in here. To amp myself up, to do the same combat I've done for hours. One of the worst parts about X-Voto is the pacing. You will do so much combat, and the plot will just be at a standstill. X-Voto is a short game, hence why this isn't a long video. I beat it in a day, but that day felt like a week. The story gives me nothing to think about, and the combat is just... Do you know what it's like to play something like this? It feels like I'm 17 again and working at the register at Target, held together by the same thoughts. Bianca was so fast to tell me to turn around because she wasn't the one who had to be doing all this shit. You didn't even know what you were doing here. I see your transition. Ayata gets bonked on the head randomly after a fight without a sound effect. I know you were looking at the boss fight you planned, and then you looked at the environment budget and... So they kind of just drop Ayata in front of Nasuno. Not kidnapped, no. She actually had a character arc between here and there. You totally missed it. Nasuno explains his theory. It's the usual religious dribble, with the not-so-great facial animation. He plans on putting Bianca on a pyre and setting her ablaze. However, both of them use their deep understanding of religious politics to break his cult's faith in him, which he resolves to fix by killing Ayata in the marketplace of ideas. Now, I'd like to think me and X-Voto have gotten to know each other pretty well at this point. I have a hunch they weren't ready for facial mocap. At the start of the game, I noticed there were these black lines on the characters' faces, specifically the faces. I assumed this was an issue with my TV, but now that I'm watching the footage back, it's still present. I don't work with mocap, so I can't really pin down exactly what this is, but it's an interesting coincidence that you have that issue and all of the characters talk like aliens possessing other people's bodies. Sometimes something just doesn't work out, but you know what you can do? Not angle the camera in a way where I gotta look at his pearly whites. Every shot of Nasuno is his mouth. The hood calls it into attention. If I close my eyes and I think of Nasuno, I see a pair of white robes and massive lips. This is the game at its most dysfunctional, beautifully so. Performance tanks, I believe it's the fire since when that starts in the cutscene, it starts in the game. My PlayStation did the heavy lifting and actually cut out a lot of how shitty this looked on my end. Also, if St. Benedict blesses you with enough frames, you might notice that the crowd is suddenly full of soldiers fighting the Flagellants. I presume this is from an arc where Ayata rallied an army of townspeople who would all push against Nasuno as one. Then someone said, "You want us to do what? Look at this. No, look at it." In a way, the frame drops are the boss mechanics. I can't react to something that's constantly changing its timing, with each death sending me back to the cutscene. By the way, the cutscene can also crash the game, so if I died, I'd have to stare at the screen holding my breath, hoping it would still be there. Then midway through, they have this little clash so that he can refill his guard. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? Can you speak up a bit? All for you to get this cutscene. This incurs a time skip, a few months of time, in which Ayata was under the care of some old man with no name. He's one of the folks from the sewer, so they did have a model they were hiding down there. Ayata now has a different haircut, which looks more feminine, and people acknowledge her as a woman. It's a character arc, the McDonald's arc, none of the work, all of the fat. She spots a plume of red smoke in the distance, the same one that hovered over her village the day it was raided. And she goes, "Oh my god, it's them!" Invoking the final arc of Ex Voto. Something important is that the first arc didn't involve Ayata truly fighting any of the perpetrators. There was like one real mercenary in the town, and the rest were Brigands for some reason. This game can be so fucking ridiculous in where you can and can't go. It shows me a box. I try to climb anything with it, and I can't. I wander around, find an alternate path. That gets blown up. I try to climb the building itself, no dice, so I walk around even more and I realize a hole got blown near the box. I climb it and I find a collectible, so I have now explored all of my options and I wander around until eventually it just works. One of the jumps that didn't look accessible, totally was, the entire time. Mercenaries combine the Flagellants and the Brigands, but thankfully, the Mercenaries do not always wait for you to kill their friend before attacking. They will slowly try to surround Ayata, and if you bump into them, they'll take a small slash at you. It was something. It didn't happen frequently, but it was something. The Mercenary also used those unblockables, so the two-handed stance goes in the garbage, right? Well, no. I learned something over my trials. All the way when I beat the Brigands, I unlocked the third upgrade path, which includes a parry on the two-handed stance. If you press the dodge button while blocking, you can parry, dealing massive guard damage if you do it with specific timing. This really speeds up your ability to kill enemies once you get their timing down. Sounds like a cool mechanic except for two things. If you fuck up the parry, the blow still hits your guard, meaning there's almost no risk to performing the parry. And secondly, this works on unblockable attacks, meaning there is almost no reason to go to the one-handed stance. After this, I had to remind myself that dodging was a thing. The one-handed stance became entirely redundant. The only, and I do mean only reason to use it, was because I had an upgrade that made me regenerate health on a perfect dodge. And the secret third thing I hid from you, is that these are the only two abilities in the entire skill tree. By the end of the game, the combat has not improved. At a glance, it looks like it's developed. When watched in broken up chunks, it looks like authentic sword fighting. In practice, it's like a filing system. It's all the same thing. You block, you try to spam the parry, then you spam your attack, heavy attack to finish them. Next, try to parry, spam attack, heavy attack. Before it was just a slower sequence. It was just slower because you didn't have a parry to break guards faster, and your basic combo had less attacks in the sequence, so you had to break it up and dodge more frequently. The pacing has gotten faster, but it's a faster pace of the same pattern. And oh my god, you have so many people in front of you. Now Ayata has a second vow, to stop the mercenaries that are behind this, which was just sorta incidental before. Knowing the smoke is there, she wants to go and kill the mercenaries before they can raid another town. So before you can find out anything, you have to fight through their entire camp, which isn't including the wooded path that you had to take to get here. And at this point, I think Ayata's just doing it because it would make her feel good. Then it shows you a big castle, which is the final area of the game, and it's burnt all of its pacing on knocking out a trebuchet. Ayata single-handedly took out an entire camp. She's the strongest woman alive. You can't power scale any higher. Then Ayata remarks, Huh, why is this place so empty?
Where are the sentries?
Ayata, I don't think you're ever gonna get an answer to that. To its credit, the last level of X-Voto is one of the better ones. The game has always been better at establishing a strong mood in the level design. The twilight hits these bricks and they dump millions of enemies on you. It is still like... It does have the same problem that there's just not much here. The hype and aura does not last as long as X-Voto thinks it does, as it slowly boils into running around really big areas and spamming R2 to pick up stuff. And since this is the end of the gameplay, I guess we can talk about that. I'm not the biggest fan of this healing system. If you press a button, a piece of food instantly vanishes from reserve, and you get a health. It's very simplistic. Your health is just a bar, and the food is a reserve of health that feeds into it. Even the barest of minimums would be something. Ayata is only capable of taking one stack of damage at a time, so why not have an enemy with an attack that deals more damage? So if you don't have enough HP to tank it, you might die early and you need to heal ahead of time. But since the first trinket has you auto-heal, why not just take the hits and never press that button at all? Now that the enemies recognize Ayata as a woman, while also saying, we need to bring you to our chapel. Though Ayata doesn't really retort, she just kills them. Again, for the better. We get that sort of vibe of a silent wandering knight who has a lot of cheese in her mouth. I ended up finding every saint for the X-Voto necklace. I didn't think I was trying to go for any kind of completion, I just sorta ran into it. Oh, you don't have that trophy in X-Voto? That's okay, we can't all push boundaries. Hey, put it on his card, alright? We get to the cathedral and—
I hoped you would come.
Oh my fucking god.
Standing there, a knight at last, as you always wished. My dear, sweet Ayata.
So, Bianca is the leader of the Mercenaries. She left Ayata that day, then sieged her village. When she was captured by the Flagellants, she was hiding her true nature from you. The bandits, you really did just go the wrong way and wasted all of our time there. And it's funny because this is such an absurd twist that I completely saw coming. The game is constantly asking Ayata who could be in charge of the Mercenaries, and there are literally no characters left. The story is so sparse for people, so devoid of loose ends, that this is the only outcome that isn't some random guy. And for as insane as it is, in some ways it's the best part of X-Voto's story. Bianca reveals herself to be a self-taught warrior in the 1300s, a time of rampant sexism and little options. Ayata is someone who is only allowed to be who they are because of her heritage. Ayata is a rich girl whose parents taught her to be a knight. She is everything Bianca should despise. Yet she wants Ayata to stand by her side. Bianca wishes to take advantage of the Black Plague's destabilization of the region to uproot those systems. Yes, you climbed all the way here to find out Bianca is dark woke. Ayata doesn't really have any argument for the status quo. She just goes, you kill people. To which Bianca says that's the cost of a rotten world, and for Ayata to defend it further would mean going, well, I'm cool with this system because I get away with it. It's a small window into what might be a dynamic. Ayata is the privileged girl that's allowed to break rules, allowed to learn the tools of knighthood. All of her strength comes from the uneven ground she started on, and Bianca can be the silent cost of the lavish life she's lived. Someone who had to fight upwards, and even then her sex would only have held her back. So now you have a very powerful person that has no allies, only enemies. Except the dialogue is mostly just in the how could you department. It isn't just the dialogue here, it's the entire story. Ayata doesn't give us a good window to question the knight's fantasy. Even when a lord tricks her into killing bandits, it's treated as something she can change her mind about because she didn't slaughter the leader. The Flagellants massacred an entire town before Ayata stops them. Everyone who looks at Ayata calls her morally just, we just don't talk about that other stuff. Let alone how ridiculous this is. Bianca, your revolution is already over, lady. And if your mercenaries were truly led by her, wouldn't they be woke too? At this point in the story, Ayata presents as a woman, but these mercenaries take no reservations in calling her a whore and a cunt, especially when their orders, issued by a woman, are to take her alive. The story ends with some symmetry. During that tutorial fight, at the end, Ayata knocks Bianca down. You press R2 to lift her up, and she sweeps you. Play it off as a joke. Here, when you defeat her, the same thing happens. And this half-invested voice in the back of your head says, don't do it, Ayata, she's gonna trick you. But they cut off in the distance at the last moment when you press R2. Meaning you'll never know if Ayata beheaded her right there, or if she fell for the same trick again. Anyway, I'm gonna show you a version I made with a song I found on a royalty-free website. But hypothetically, there might be a pinned comment.
It's
Oh my god. Hey, thanks for watching. Sorry if it took me a minute. I was moving in the meantime. That said, I think it's taken me a while to upload so long that it probably didn't even feel like that much. Also, if you can tell, that's why the audio sounded different in some places. Let me take off my blanket. Excuse me, you're gonna hear some ruffling. There we go, this is what it sounds like when I'm not under the blanket. So as you can tell, it's made recording a little difficult. And I'd like to thank the people on Patreon who made this video possible. I would especially like to thank Asa Dekai, Naoya Zenin, Vexter, Ethan A, Minnie McNugget, and Anthony R. Chambers. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again sometime soon.